Now today we are gonna look at other features of the Sidbox and more so looking at the lovely little Neelix adapter. By the way, if you didn't see the last Sidbox video, I highly recommend watching that one also, as you will miss a lot of information if you don't. It's linked in the description below. Okay, so here is the Neelix adapter, and here's the prototype of it, and here's the final of it. There's a reason why it's called a Neelix adapter, and that's because of this. It's all the fault of Wayne's cat, Neelix. Anyway, what this does basically is it connects to the back of your Commodore 64, and it allows audio to go in, like normal audio here. You can load C64 tab files, or tap the WAV from the Sidbox or anything else. Basically, it just turns the audio wave into a complete square wave with this circuitry here. And of course, we'll look at this one because it's the final product. For the ZX Spectrum, this is actually not needed. Something like this is not needed. You just plug the Sidbox directly into the ZX Spectrum. Now this, the Neelix adapter is actually only included as an option because not everyone's going to want it. So it's just there will be a Kickstarter on this soon, hopefully, so you'll be having it as an option. After that, it'll be on the website. Okay, so it's another day with some newer updates, and with regards to the Sidbox, I mean. Now, initially this video was just going to be about using the Sidbox to load games into 8-bit computers, and also a comparison between the sound from the Sidbox and to the 8580, which is it's emulating. However, there's some more advancements on this because we've spent last few days doing them, and it's been a lot of fun. First of all, Robert Minnis, or Lambda Calculus from the Nostalgia Road Trip, is now a tester. So there's 3 of us on the team, and we came up with a few breakthroughs, which you will see later on in the video. But first things first, now I'd like for you to notice the menu system on this. So you will notice here, on this side of the menu, you have the usual functions: play a playlist, play a PCM tune, a WAV, and it's just different file types. Play anything is basically just like a random thing. You press play anything, press go, it will just randomly pick something from your collection. Now, on this side, however, you will notice a find a tune, which is like a search. You will notice playlists, which is, your playlist manager. Now, when you press play and then press go, it goes into the file browser, so you can select playlists or select mods, select anything that you wish to play, really, even if it's like a file, like a PRG file or something like this. So you close that down, and then you have the settings here, which they are under development at the moment. Now, one thing when you're playing a tune, let's just pick a mod here. So you have this here. Now, if you want to get into the tracker, I found this part awkward. You have to press up there somewhere, and there's a pull down menu that comes up. It's a bit weird, and then you can choose between the player, which is this, and the tracker, which again you have to mess around doing this. No! Okay, you have to put it against right at the top. And then you go in the tracker, and then it does this, right? Now, I found this awkward, and I decided to just kind of, talk to Wayne about this. And also, I presented him with this. Now, I presented to him this, a redesign of the menu on this side. I decided, let's just have lollipop and crab pincers. Let's just have, like, the search here, like that search there. The settings. Then you have playlists, which is that thing. The player UI and the tracker UI, which is on the top pull-down menu. I hate that pull-down menu. I'm sorry. I told Wayne that I really don't like it. And he's like, okay, I kind of agree. So yeah, that won't be there anymore. So you have player UI, tracker UI. Then you have this, this play thing, this play stop thing. And then you have the go, which is there. So yeah, that's the new design. And before you know it, Wayne comes up with a hex file. So let's update and see. So, all you really need to do is to download the latest firmware from Electron Skip whenever available. I do recommend keeping the old firmware files just to fall back on, just in case. So create a folder to store old firmware files in. Rename the old sidbox.hex file with a date or something. Copy the old renamed firmware file into the folder as a backup. Copy the new hex file onto the SD card, in the root directory of course, and rename it to sidbox.hex. It must be named sidbox.hex because the bootloader always looks for a file with the specific name and extension once prompted to update the firmware. And that's it, you're done. So we have the new sidbox.hex file here. And then all we need to do is just the top and the bottom. Press and hold while switching it on. Then you will see the Workbench 1.3-esque screen, the firmware update screen, as it updates. Just as I designed it, we have the magnifying glass there, a gear or a cog there, playlists, player UI, tracker UI, so it's all easily accessible. There's no pull down menu anymore, thank goodness. And it already feels so intuitive. So let's take this to the retro corner now. Now then, let's try loading a game, shall we? Now one thing you will notice when going in here is that you can it's just like, it works in a similar way as the Ultimate 2 works. You just get any file and it will just select the right thing to do with it. It'll know what to do with it, providing it supports it. So let's go to tap files, and it will know, well, it should know which is the, yeah. So this ZX Spectrum tabs, and then I should rename this folder to Commodore 64 tabs. So you can choose this, this is what Wayne and I call the snot robot, because it just looks like a robot sneezing and then these green numbers go achoo. It's not going sideways either side. Anyway, so this, you go to snot robot, you can actually invert, so that's an inverted wave, and that's a normal wave. Now you will notice the little switch on one of Neelix's ears is a little switch. So you will notice that is also an inverted thing. So you can choose to invert the signal hardware real time, or just choose to do it by here. So let's keep the signal normal, and the Commodore 64 shift the. Okay, this has been a little guru meditation. Why? What did I do wrong? Also, if it doesn't work, it could be that that switch is inverted. You know, Neelix's ear is inverted. So let's swap it around. Found sanction. Oh, there you go. It's found it. Fantastic. You can actually see it on the screen as well. So if you find it's not working out for you, just switch Neelix's ear, tweak it, and it should be fine. Because it's most likely the waveform is inverted or something like this, or the volume level is just a little loud, you know, but check the switch first. And you will notice there at the bottom there's the red progress bar, which knows the progress of the loading. I like the raster bars on the Sidbox as well, while you're loading it. The fact that it's actually reading data from the tab, and it brings up the name and the progress and everything. It's fantastic. And there we go. It's loaded. So while we're here, let's do another game. Let's do Batman the movie. Just because I want to. There you go. It's recognized Batman on both the Sidbox and the Commodore 64 itself. I like that. You can see my gameplay of it on Nostalgia Time if you like. For some reason I just always like tape loading. You know, it's really cool. Especially on the Spectrum. You know, I mean, on the Commodore 64 it's a different experience because you get the music and you get really cool loaders. On the Spectrum you get the data sound, which is actually, to be honest, a lot of people don't like it. But I actually really like it. Call me weird, but I really like it. There we go. We have Batman loaded up successfully. So now we move on to the Spectrum and loading the games from there. Actually, there was a few issues with this simply because of the type of cable used. You need to use a mono one. I will explain now exactly why. And I had to do the testing for this mostly because Wayne didn't have a Spectrum at the time, so I basically, you know, did all the testing for him. And there was like one issue which I think a lot of people are confused why you shouldn't use stereo cables on this. So yeah, I will demonstrate exactly why. So this here is a stereo jack plug. The top one is a mono one. You'll notice that the mono one has ground, like a large ground, and then it has the audio at the top. Then you'll notice here, this bottom part is ground, and then these two are left and right. Now this is, imagine this purple part being the socket of the ZX Spectrum, the input, and then you have the mono coming out of the cassette, and this is the jack plug, this thing here. Now, right, so you have a stereo signal going in here, you have the ground going into the plug, you have left, which is the orange, right, which is the blue. The bottom one here is actually ground. I forget which way around these are, but the top two are the stereo inputs, and obviously the bottom one is ground. Now, the problem with this is that this contact here, this contact terminal here, and this is going to short left with ground. So left and ground are going to be the same thing. So that is going to be, so you will only get half the signal. The right will only be the signal. So the signal going in there overall will be half as quiet, which means you're going to have to turn your stereo up even more. And the Spectrum is already, you know, ridiculous in amount of volume level it needs. This tends to be the reason why stereo recorders or players with stereo leads tend not to work so well. Now, if you attempt to make this mono by joining the left and the right together, which is, you know, the common way that I tend to just make these mono, what'll end up happening is that not only the left is already joined to ground due to this, you will then short the right to ground too, so it'll just be one rod of ground that you'll get there. So you cannot signal it. You cannot use, you know, this stereo plugs like this, you know, to this. You have to use a mono one. Now if we go back to this and we use a mono plug instead of a stereo plug, you have the ground, which is this black wire here, and you have the top one, which is, it's not right, it's just mono audio, which is the blue one here. Now this time if you connect the left with the right, you know, if the left just goes to the right, then you will double the signal because they're both going in there. Nothing is being shorted to ground here, you know, they're both actually, yeah, so it's just that way is fine. So we had this, I had to figure this out because we were struggling as to why the Sidbox, you know, was kind of, we were struggling with the Sidbox because the Sidbox doesn't like the left and right, you know, joined together like that. So I just thought to make an isolating capacitor here, like, you know, just to make it like a DC blocking so it doesn't see it as a short. That would mean an external little adapter or something like this, which we don't want to do. However, the Sidbox is, the sound chip, the DAC on the Sidbox is actually quite strong and quite loud, so we can just, you know, get away with omitting the L and just have the R going through, and that'll be loud enough, more than loud enough, to trigger the Spectrum into accepting data. So just to clarify, if you're struggling with this issue, this is why. And since then, I've donated the Spectrum to one of I had 2+2s, and I've donated one of them to Wayne, which he has now restored and he's enjoying, because it's the one which he had in childhood too. So I thought, yeah, you know, he's doing this kind of thing and he wants one, so why not? So yeah, let's get started with this. And yeah, just a normal loader. My favorite Spectrum is actually the Toast Rack. So let's load Tetris. 128K. Fantastic. Normal. Let me just start. And it shows the raster bars there too. There we go. And the image actually comes up as well. This is from a library, I think. This data loading sound just gives me more fuzzies, because this is the first computer which I ever saw. We had a Spectrum 48K rubber keys, which I still have the original one, and yes, some of you have still seen the repair which I did, which I haven't finished off, and I do intend to do it. So, and I do intend to go back to it. It's just that so much has actually been happening. And you know, so many projects that things get moved and shifted along. No, so as you can see here, the loading on the Sidbox screen, just the same, exactly the same. It's reading from the data as the actual screen, which is fantastic. And again, you have the progress bar and the time remaining. 50 seconds remaining to this. Didn't take that long to load. I mean, people said, oh, it took 10 minutes, it took 15 minutes. It didn't. It's just like 5 minutes at most. Sometimes 10 minutes if it's like a really huge game or uncompressed or something. Yeah, I'll just say like, you know, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. It's actually not that bad, to be honest. I think a lot of the time was for the eagerness to play it. It made it feel like it was longer. There we go. This I remember playing on the Commodore Amiga. So I have it here. It's when I first saw it in the Triad compilation. And you know something? This Tetris is my favorite, the Mirrorsoft one. I'm not that keen on the other one. Mirrorsoft one is the first one I know. It gives me the fuzzies. And it's the one I like. I do not have a Kempston joystick for this. I know this music from the Amiga version. I actually like it. It's cool. And there we have it. Sidbox loading a Commodore 64 game and a Spectrum game. I don't have a joystick. I'm not gonna play keyboard. Right, so one thing which I actually wish to do here is do a comparison with the Sidbox, how the Sidbox sounds compared to the 8580, which is the version of the Sid which it's trying to emulate. So let's compare them both. And you know which track I'm gonna use already. So the audio of my Commodore 64 is already connected. So I just want to connect onto this black one, which is the input to this. You can hear. Then on the Sidbox itself, I have the exact same folder as on my Ultimate. Okay, so what I'm going to first do is set the SID FX to 8580 only, because normally it would play in stereo. So I'd set it to 8580 only, and yeah, I think that's 8580 only. It's up. Let me just play this, and you'll hear what it sounds like. Now, of course, they're both different, as in, you know, you can tell the difference between them. And, you know, I mean, that's normal. So basically what Wayne's trying to do here is do quite a task in emulating an analog chip, you know, digitally. You know, the same as what Gideon has done with the FPGA Ultimate 2. He's basically tried to simulate the SID, but, you know, SID is an analog chip, so simulating it digitally is not easy. You know, it really isn't. Thing is, it sounds unique. I just think I like that. It's got its own characteristics. It sounds like an 8580, but not quite, or it sounds a little different. It's like it's like its own type of SID, and yeah, I like that. And when we've now got, yes, we now got 2 SID working, as in the SID 6-channel SID, 2 SID, and on the Sidbox. And I am so excited about this because it sounds so cool. And I'll do a comparison again. And then we go to this. I think this is going to be my test for 2 SID now. Not Cheese. Cheese is my test for just like normal SID, 3-channel. Adventure by Conrad is beautiful. I love this track. Bass. I love the bass. Now let's play this as a 2 SID on the Sidbox. I like this part. Oh, sounds beautiful. Right, so in the settings, we set the SID stereo to on. Now what that does is actually, it just defines the stereo image you get. Now, it's not like, you know, dual stereo. It won't turn a normal, you know, SID into like how it happens with SID to SID. On the SID's have got 3 voices, right? So it will, so voice 1 and 3 will come on, you know, left channel. Voice 2 will probably come on right channel. That's what it does, you know, on SID stereo or something to that effect. But taking it off will keep it on mono, as in, you know, all voices will come onto both channels, as normal SID is. So we'll switch this on because there's a lot of voices into SID. There's 6 voices. I normally call them channels, but I don't want to confuse you. So let's save that. And we load the same one. You'll notice that it's split up into 6. Now, one thing which I have to say is I'm actually glad that it doesn't sound exactly like the 8580 or exactly like the Commodore 64, simply because it has its own uniqueness. This track, I love this track, and I love it on the Commodore 64 itself with the SidFX, and I also love it on the Sidbox. They're just two different versions, and it's given me two different things, and that's kind of what I love. It's like you have a version that's special to the Commodore 64, and you have a version that's special to the Sidbox. It's almost like it's become a third Sid, the way it sounds. So it's added, in my opinion. And here's the footage of us working on it last night, tirelessly. It was myself, Wayne, and Robert, who's the new tester here. So Wayne, Robert, and I have been up all night, messing around with the Sidbox and the Commodore 64 and trying to get two Sid working on the Sidbox, as in 6-channel Sids, and we are getting successful. Actually, I was trying to get it working on my SidFX and Ultimate 2. As you can see now, I'm making a recording. This is our group. We live in our own time zone. Oh, that bass sounds delicious. And that is all for today. Thanks so much for your likes, your shares. Do leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my other videos and do subscribe for more. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon to get notified when I upload a new video. And a big thank you goes to my patrons for all your support. It means a lot. And also, if you wish to support me on Patreon, the link is in the description below, as well as links to my patrons' websites or YouTube channels. For now, I will say adios!